Hello and welcome back to the Aeon Drive Tournament. I am Morning Track and I'm joined again by Markinator99. We were going to have 4,000 qualification entries go in, 64 came out. So already it's among the best of the best. And it is nice to see in some of those early matches, you know, the top speedrunners, they make things look too easy. And we start to lose appreciation for them. You see them darting around with that teleportation dagger, and you're like, yeah, I can do this. You basically just push that way, right? No, 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 no. It's only helpful to see someone miss a few and be reminded of how many inputs they have to get just right and how they have to angle them just right. And just to be reminded of how difficult it is. And that's one of the hallmarks of this game is that very precise controls, which means it's going to do exactly what you tell it to do, even if you tell it to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, yeah, it will do what
It'll do what you want. So make sure you want the right thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
Good or bad.
It's kind of like a computer. They always say the thing about computers is they execute your mistakes as efficiently as possible. And a good game with responsive controls is the same thing. The tournament, by the way, from the top 64 is a standard knockout bracket. Lose once and you're out. There's no losers bracket. There's no second chances. And the runners have a set amount of time with unlimited resets to grind for the best time they possibly can for whatever sector they're in. This stage of the tournament would be 10 minutes and will be if the other competitor joins us. But in the meantime, we're just going to watch SCP-105 do a little bit of a practice here. And it'll give us a little preview, whether they play now or whether they advance automatically to the top 32, give us a little preview of what their skill level looks like, because there are a lot of unknowns in this tournament.
Yeah, precisely. And I don't know what we're looking at. Okay, I was like, is he able to start the game? Okay, got the code screen there.
Hey, part of the training is navigating the menu, my friend. That's the first thing you learn. Okay, we're off to a great start. There we go. Yeah. That's more like, okay, all right. Well, wow, I think I made them mad.
Looks like he's played this one before.
Yes, I was going to say, those first few moves looked okay. All right. So we ran into a pit, and then we immediately blew through the level. Very funny.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the movement here. It's you can't necessarily hear it right now with the audio, but let me tell you, there's a very satisfying thwomp when that dagger hits the wall.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know we might not be able to hear the ear because of Discord, but I don't know if the stream can or not. That is a good question.
Yeah, and the screen shakes just a little bit. It's like the PC equivalent of haptic feedback, I guess. You can see when the player lands, when the dagger hits, there's this little shake, and just it's a pretty immersive thing, which is not something you normally get to say about an 8-bit game.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't really notice the shake until you said it, but yeah, no, that's very true. Something happens, and it's like the game lets you know. Yeah,
it just jostles just a little bit, and it gives it a real kinetic, kind of frantic feel that fits the style really, really well. The main character, Jacqueline, by the way, voiced by Kira Buckland. You've heard her in Nier Automata and Ace Attorney and a bunch of other games. Very, very talented. And you've got a little computer helper talking in your ear in the single-player mode, because this is not just co-op. It's competitive and single-player. A computer named Vera. I love those AI companions myself. They're the closest thing you're going to get to pets in something like a dystopian future.
Yeah, they're always really fun to have around in the games. Something to emotionally attach yourself to.
Yeah, usually they sass you a little bit. Vera, definitely like that, a little sardonic. And we are running out of time, which is not what you normally say in a speedrun tournament like this. Here we go. So in the single-player mode, you know, you'd collect those little fusion cells there, or whatever they are, and I'm sure they have a name. They're probably fusion cells, right? And you use them to basically spend time that you're running low on, because some of these, they won't give you enough time to complete, and you'll figure, how am I supposed to do this? Well, you pick those up and press a button. I think it's Y on the Xbox controller, for example, and you kind of spend 5 seconds, and you use that to get there. Kind of like those old, if you ever played those old arcade race car games, where you'd have to hit checkpoints to buy yourself another 30 seconds to continue. Kind of like that.
Yeah, very much like that. We don't see them here because obviously we're speedrunning through it, but they're actually very useful when like scouting out the map and everything like that. And I'm sure, you know, once the game fully comes out, we get some more levels. Co-op and all that stuff comes out, it will be much more useful. Just not really seeing it right here at the moment.
No. SCP sort of taking it easy here. Not really doing too much of the practice. And you can see the default 30 seconds there. None of the fusion cells being caught. The point of the game, for what it's worth, is to pick up drive cores from your missing ship. That's the key.
Yeah, the whole point, the whole reason you got 30 seconds is because there's going to be like a nuclear meltdown, and your like pet is like making it not happen, and in order to make the time go faster, those are like little energy cells that you collect.
Right. To kind of roll back time, and of course, in typical video game fashion, there's a bit of a hand wavy bit to it, where Jacqueline sort of asks Vera, well, how's that work? And they're like, don't worry about it, which is perfect video game logic to me, because we don't actually need that. We can headcanon that if we have to. All we want to do is shoot teleportation daggers at a wall and fly around.
Yeah, all we need is the final result.
Yes. That and the power sword, of course. The power sword is that giant person-sized katana on Jacqueline's back. That seems to be standard now, right? Do they even make normal-sized swords in video games anymore, or are they all as tall as the person?
They're all as tall as the person. They gotta be.
Yeah, it's underwhelming otherwise now.
They don't do damage if they're too short.
That's a good point. It's called the power sword. It's not the most imaginatively named thing in the world, but I'm guessing it's pretty apt. One hit seems to kill the enemies. It does slow you down a little bit, but, and this is how you know this game was made for speedrunning, and here we are running again finally, woo. This is how you know this game's made for speedrunning. You can do a sword cancel, because speedrunners do not like getting locked into animations, even ones that take a fraction of a second.
Yeah, and I don't know, how do you do the sword cancel? I'm not sure how you even do it.
I did not get to play the game long enough to get good at any of that stuff, unfortunately. Yeah. I just got there long enough, and this was key, I actually think, for me, even just as a commentator, though. I did it just long enough to realize, oh, this is much harder than it looks. And it was, let me be clear though, very accessible. I was able to pick it up and have fun right away. But the high-level maneuvers we've been seeing, for example, the kind of darting around like that doesn't just happen. Like, that actually does take some work. It just looks really smooth and easy when you do it really well. But it is quite challenging.
Yeah, and it feels really smooth while you're playing it as well. So even if you're not as good at, it's still got that smooth style to it. So yeah, super nice. One of the biggest differences I think we're seeing here, and we saw it more so in the earlier ones, but the routing that you can take through these maps. I mean, there is so many different routings that you can actually have. The devs have made it to where you can like go over top. There's like under sections. You can dash straight through the middle, assuming you can do all the barriers. Obviously, the middle seems to be where you hit like the most corners and stuff like that. And we did see in the first one, Tyler went through the middle, rerouted himself up, which seemed to be harder, but he got a really good time and then went through the harder route. So, I mean, there's so many different things that you could do here that aren't just mechanical. There's, routing and all that stuff too. And in these tournaments, there's a lot of mind games that goes on. Like, I got a good time. You've got stuff in the back. You're not worried. Put some pressure on your opponent, so maybe they get a little more worried, make a few mistakes, and you just kind of do what you can.
Yeah, mind games is right. Because that leaderboard was popping up there, and I could see a lot of them were skipping right past it. And I'm sure part of that was speed, right? I want to get into the next run or whatever. But I don't think that was all of it. I think part of it was, I don't want to know yet. It's early in the match. I don't want to know if I'm behind. I want to focus on what I'm doing. And then usually when they got a particularly good run, that's when they would check the leaderboard and see, okay, where do I stand now?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. That's kind of the way to do it. And that has been the difference, I think, in that last match, for example. It's not just about mechanical skill. It's when do you make that transition from, I've familiarized myself with the level, and now I want to go through it as quickly as possible. We saw Game Guy got to that point very quickly in the 10-minute time frame, but Off Dance took a little longer, maybe into the last few minutes, and was more intent on completing it all the way through rather than maybe mastering a particular point. And I think that might have hurt them a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I think it did. I think it did hurt them a little bit too. But we just got word that we're going to be starting here in just a moment. There it is. There he is. All right. Sorry, we're kind of skipping around with this many people trying to play all in one day. We've had a couple of no-shows. So Beb was not a no-show, but because we had to skip around the times, we're a little weird. So he just needed a few minutes to come back. So we're all good now. He's here. We're going to get started in just a few moments.
Yeah, it's going to be, this is the 64 again, so this is the 10-minute block rather than the 30-minute one. It's going to be one of the earlier sectors as a result. It's going to be SCP-105 against Beb, and again, a lot of new competitors here. We don't know a lot about them. We did see some warm-ups, and SCP, gotta say, looked pretty good, pretty confident with that dagger, and that dagger is pretty much the whole game, at least as far as these little speedrunning events are concerned.
Yeah, it really is. I would 100% agree.
And here we go. We're getting into it. We are starting. We have competition, it looks like.
Oh. Okay. False start maybe?
False start. Well, hey, that's okay. If you want to spend your first minute punching the air, I got no problem with that. Test out all the controls. Here we go.
All right.
SCP says, no, I'm good. Yeah, SCP is like, I'm just going to actually start running.
Yeah, no official countdown for our side, unfortunately, so sorry about that, guys.
Well, that's okay. I mean, they've got the time. You know, Bev can do whatever they want. If they want a moment to get their bearings or even just get a drink, you can spend that first minute however you want, but it's not coming back. SCP getting right into it, and you can see a couple mistakes, but we're seeing a lot of mechanical skill out of them already. We haven't seen anything out of Bev yet, so we don't know what's what. Here it comes. Bev restarting. Let's see if we actually get some movement. No, they just ran out of time.
If he ends up winning, this is going to be the ultimate flex.
So literally one run with 30 seconds left, and it wins. That would, I think we'd have to just give them the tournament at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the rules are, but I would lobby pretty heavily for possibly the greatest moment in speedrunning history.
It probably would be. So
if it literally
we
happened,
thought the game was starting. Bev might just be AFK, but we have to get started, so we threw his gameplay up there.
Yeah, BEB AFK. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. We might have some technical difficulties. We're going to look into that for you. But in the meantime, SCP is actually running, and when they do check that leaderboard, they're not going to see any times. So there is that, but they're probably not going to check it for at least a few minutes. You can see a couple of mistakes here, a little bit of imprecision, but it is very, very early. They've only used about a minute and a half. They haven't actually gotten all the way through yet, which is interesting because the matches we've seen to this point, they've all made the point to go all the way through once or twice early. First of all, get technically some kind of time up there, right? And then get a feel for the whole level and like what the problem areas are going to be, maybe. But SCP is not doing that. SCP is kind of taking it bit by bit. They're not moving on until they've done a pretty good job getting through the first half.
Yeah, and it looks like he maybe not as familiar with this level as maybe he could be. You saw him there, he's kind of like testing some stuff out. But
do you like the pause on the leaderboard? It kind of stopped there for like a full second, like, wait, what? There's no times? We're hearing that Bev might be having some controller issues. That is very unfortunate. We're going to get back to you. Yeah, we're going to give this a minute here. We're going to watch SCP either it's speedrunning or it's training. Either way, we're going to see some pretty good mechanics here while Bev is trying to sort that out. It might just come out of their time or we might restart, but wait for word on that. In the meantime, we're watching SCP, and they're coming at this, as I mentioned, this is interesting, a little differently, right? Going a little slower. Now they've gone through the whole level a couple of times. But at the beginning there, they were kind of loath to do the whole map. They sort of wanted to focus on that first half, and when they weren't happy with it, they just took the death.
Yeah, just restarting the level as fast as you can. Yeah, once you get your feel for it, once you know what you're doing, you can just go until you hit all the tricks that you need to. And ooh, that section looks real tight. You got some spikes above and below. It looks like a real tight section.
Yeah, hit the head right there. The head hit the ceiling right here, right there. And you see, added a little bit of a slide, a little bit of a ground slide to make absolutely sure that they didn't. It's slower, I think, but it ensures they don't hit the spikes as easily. And I think right now we're still at the stage of all this where you want to go a lot. You want to make sure you get through it still. But it looks like, you know, the final here, if they clean it all up, it looks like it could be, 12, 13 seconds maybe if things go real smooth, maybe less. But we're still pretty early in the process here. You can still see SCP learning as they go, and they've got the first 4 or 5 moves pretty much down right all up to this point, and right there you can see that could have been a little better, but pretty good. And we're seeing a rare example of the power sword there actually bothering to stop and kill the enemy, because it doesn't look like there's any wall there that we can grapple onto otherwise.
Yeah, not much you can really do.
There it is again. That same corner's getting them.
Yeah, that's the good thing about this like time attack that we're doing right here. I really do enjoy it, because a lot of speedrunning tournaments you see are, they start the game and they just keep going. But with ones like this where you're just doing individual levels and individual times, watching the runners actually like lab out what they're doing, making the same mistakes, keep at it until they get that really solid run. I mean, you kind of get a little bit of like the whole process as we're racing through here. So there's so much to look at, so much to see. It's really nice.
And so many ways to approach it, strategically. I mean, we've already seen you figure mechanical skill is going to be the biggest factor, and that's certainly true. But a lot of that has been accounted for by the fact that we've gone from 4,000 qualifiers to 64 of the top from that. So that mechanical skill difference, there's still a lot of mechanical skill difference in what we've seen, but not nearly as much. So it increasingly is about strategic decisions. How do you map out your game plan? At what point do you switch? How do you like to approach it, right? Like, I don't know, like, if it were you, how would you do it? Would you take a couple full laps, then try to focus on one section? Or maybe if one section in particular is giving you trouble, focus on that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if I would be doing it and running in this thing, I would definitely get the bearings first, run through it, and then I'm one of the people who speedruns things, and like I will keep resetting until I can consistently get the beginning going, so then I can get a better consistent time. And we saw that earlier, I think, from some runners. I think Tyler did that. He finished and he made sure he finished, and then we saw his opponent. He would just like kept finishing the run, so practice the back end. It looked like, but Tyler ended up coming out a little stronger because he was able to get more runs in, was able to really practice out the beginning, and so he was just getting more to the end on pace. So interesting strategies that people get, and maybe that's not always the case, right? Maybe it's better to practice the end more.
Yeah. And we have to be careful, too, of drawing conclusions from the result, because the difference was 0.08 seconds. So it's easy to say, well, it really paid off. And it's like, well, yeah, barely.
Exactly. If there are different strategies that we see.
Right.
Really
and you flip a tenth of a second, are we learning a different lesson from the whole match? Or is it maybe just, when the margins are that thin, you can't really learn any lesson, and it could have gone either way?
Precisely.
Oh, look at this. I like this. SCP's thinking, you know what? Maybe, hey, this wall's here for a reason. I can probably go up this, and this is the difference with the handcrafted levels. Again, I think the full game on release, September 30th, is going to have, I think, 100? Something like that. And the handcraftedness tells you that if there's a way to get up around the level to go up rather than down, which is something we saw, certainly, or in this case, kind of around this whole complicated structure, it may or may not be faster, but it's at least going to be possibly viable. It's worth looking into.
Yeah. It wasn't an oversight. It's meant for you to be
right. It's there for a reason. It's not just there to troll you. It's almost certainly going to be interesting, and for certain players, if they're good at certain things, maybe better. And you can see how it could be a good trade, because while there's a lot of ground to cover going up and out around like that, look at all these tight little corners, especially here at the end. This part right here. You got to imagine a really good speedrunner who's really getting comfortable with the teleportation dagger is going to fly through those tight little turns real quick. But if you don't, until you get to that point, you can see several seconds it takes just to walk through it.
Yeah. Any bit slowing down is going to cost you some big time. One thing in this level in particular that we haven't seen is that moving bar on the right side as you get a little further into the level. And in Mario 64, at least, we consider anything moving a cycle. And so it'll be at a specific point depending on how fast he gets there. So,
right.
He actually has to get there on good pace to make the same cycle. And if he's not, he has to adjust whatever he's doing if he wants to continue to finish.
Right,
so
but it also means that
really complicates
certain things that seem slower superficially, if they also help you line up with a cycle better, whereas the faster movement didn't, and maybe you're giving back a quarter second sometimes because you have to wait for it, suddenly the slower thing isn't really slower at all because you happen to be able to cruise right through it without stopping.
Yeah, it's like a buffer. It's like you have this much time to waste because you got to wait for it anyway.
Yeah, great point. And it's something, again, this game designed for speedrunning from the ground up. You can, as if you can't tell from watching it, by the way, definitely considered a lot of things like that. So on the forefront of their minds, and certainly while they were designing these levels.
Yeah, and it really has been like, coming from the speedrunning background and playing this game. I mean, it really does look like something a speedrunner would want to create as a game. It's something that took some love and some dedication and understanding of how gamers like to move quickly. It needs to be smooth, it needs to be precise, and that's exactly what we've been seeing and experiencing playing in the game. At least I've had that experience. So really cool gameplay just all around.
Yeah. Making me look smart, too, by the way. I think I was guessing we could get this down to 12 or 13 seconds after a few good runs. And the best so far, 14 and a half. And you can definitely see plenty of little opportunities for it. I feel like the beginning, getting pretty well optimized, and that makes sense. That's the part you do the most. And I do think that a hybrid strategy with what we were talking about earlier, where you go through the whole level a few times at a moderate pace, and then you really grind the beginning, because the beginning is the part you're going to have to do no matter what. And getting really good at that and getting that down in second nature after you've seen a little bit of what the stage has to offer, I think makes a lot of sense. And oh wow, this is a particularly good run from SCP. Changes up a little bit and got there much quicker too. I think that's at 13:05. Might have taken a full second and a half.
Yeah, 13:45.
4.5. Takes off a full second plus. That's a nice jump, and there's still a little room. You can see there's a little more room for optimization, but a lot less now. The last, I'd say, 2 or 3 minutes, they've gotten way better.
Yeah, no, really has. You can just see the players, ease into it and like melt into their comfort zone on these levels and just really go after it. Oh, yeah. Look at, oh my gosh, the throw I did not expect.
That was very good. And I think they probably are like, okay, this needs to become part of the routine, especially near the beginning.
Yeah, really cool. Timer's running down to 0 here. Are we just going with this as like the exhibition?
Yeah, I think so. We're waiting to hear on whether or not, but yeah, they took their full time and they got 1345, and obviously in potentially non-competitive mode. Although I'm not sure if they realize that. Every time I've checked the leaderboard, there's been no score, but they might be playing it safe rather than sorry. And you know, it's hard to say. You know, what would the other player do? But I'm going to say pretty good time, because when we're watching at the end there, I don't see too many big mistakes. I think we've gotten to the point right around the last couple minutes where there weren't a lot of big mistakes, but there were just a few seconds here or there for optimization.
Yeah, exactly. The precision could have been a little better, but he'll have a lot more time on this next section to really zone in that precision and execution that he was looking for. But really good gameplay from SCP there. Going to be a really nice match between him and what is it? Katak? Is that who he's playing in the round of 32?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Game Guy SD. I was looking at the top 32 as if it was.
So was I.
So Game Guy SD is going to be playing SCP, and we're going to get that started here in just a moment. But I believe this is your last commentating match for today.
This is it for today. I'm going to be handing it off. It's going to be unknown availability here with Markinator99. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you all tomorrow, actually. I'm sure you guys are going to do a great job.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure for me as well. And I believe we are on comms for tomorrow. We have a few matches together, so I'll see you then. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Yep, and with that being said, I'll see you guys here in a few minutes while we take a couple moments to set up, and I will see you there.